The room fell silent, not the warm kind, the kind that stings. I stood at the edge of my daughter's living room, holding a tray of homemade cookies. My hands shook slightly, the kind I'd baked for every family gathering since my kids were small. Chocolate chip, my grandson's favorite. It was his 10th birthday. Balloons bobbed against the ceiling. Laughter had filled the air moments ago, until I walked in. My daughter, Claire, stood by the gift table, perfectly poised. Her manicured nails gleamed under the chandelier. She didn't look at me, not even a glance. Her husband, Mark, leaned against the counter, arms crossed, smirking. My son, Daniel, sat on the couch, scrolling his phone, ignoring the weight in the air. And then Claire spoke. Loud, sharp, like a knife thrown across the room. "She shouldn't even be here," she said, "after everything she's ruined." The words hit me hard. My chest tightened, like someone had squeezed the air out of me. I froze. The tray wobbled in my hands. Cookies slid to one side. I tried to breathe, to steady myself, but the room, it shifted. Guests turned, neighbors, cousins, old friends I hadn't seen in years. Their eyes darted toward me, some curious, some cold, a few amused. I forced a smile, thin, brittle. "Claire, honey," I started, my voice soft, shaking. "I just wanted to stop it. Mom." She cut me off, her tone icy. "You always play the victim. Nobody asked you to come." Laughter rippled, not loud, but sharp, like glass breaking in slow motion. My face burned. I could feel it. Hot, humiliating. My grandson, Ethan, sat on the floor, surrounded by wrapping paper. His big eyes flicked up at me, confused, holding a half-opened gift. I wanted to drop the tray, run to him, tell him it was okay. But my legs, they wouldn't move. Mark stepped forward, his smirk wider now. "She's right, Diane," he said, loud enough for everyone. "You've been a burden since Dad died, always needing something." The room didn't gasp. It didn't stop. People just nodded. My cousin Linda sipped her wine, avoiding my gaze. My old neighbor, Tom, chuckled under his breath, like it was a joke they'd all heard before. I stood there, alone, the tray heavy in my hands, my heart heavier. I'd spent years holding this family together, nights sewing Claire's prom dress, days driving Daniel to soccer, hours consoling them when their father passed. And yet, this was how they saw me. A burden. A mistake. Something to be tossed aside. I looked around, searching for one kind face, one pair of eyes that didn't judge. My sister, Ellen, stared at her plate, poking at a slice of cake. My niece whispered to her husband, smirking. No one spoke up. No one said, "That's enough." The silence, it was louder than their words. It screamed, "You don't belong." I wanted to cry, to scream, to tell them they were wrong. But I didn't. I couldn't. Not in front of Ethan, not in front of them. My fingers tightened around the tray, knuckles white. I took a step back, toward the door, ready to leave, to disappear. And then I saw her, Maria, the housekeeper, standing quietly in the corner, her eyes locked on mine, not with pity, not with judgment, with something else, something steady, like she saw everything. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. I left that birthday party, tray of cookies still in my hands. Ethan's confused eyes burned into my mind. The weight of Claire's words. They followed me home. "She's ruined everything." I heard them again and again as I drove through the quiet streets of our small Indiana town, past the diner where I used to work weekends, past the park where I pushed Daniel's stroller. My name is Diane. I'm 62, a mother, a grandmother, a widow. And for most of my life, I thought love meant giving everything, even when it left me empty. I wasn't always the woman standing alone at a party, holding a tray no one wanted. There was a time, long ago, when my house was full of noise, Claire's laughter, Daniel's toy trucks crashing across the floor, my husband, Frank, humming old country tunes while he fixed the sink. We weren't rich, far from it, but we had each other. I worked as a seamstress back then, mending dresses, hemming suits. My fingers calloused from needles, my back ached from long hours, but I loved it. I dreamed of opening my own shop one day. A little place with lace curtains, my name on the sign, Diane's Designs. That dream, it faded fast. Frank got sick when Claire was 12. Cancer, slow at first, then relentless. The bills piled up, hospital stays, chemo, surgeries. I sold my sewing machine to cover the first round. The one with the rosewood handle. My mother's. It broke my heart, but Frank needed it. The kids needed him, so I let it go. I took a second job, cleaning offices at night. I'd come home at 3 a.m., my hands smelling of bleach, my knees sore from scrubbing, just to make sure Claire had new shoes for school, just to keep Daniel in soccer camp. Frank fought for 3 years. He was stubborn like that, but in the end, he slipped away, quietly, in a hospital bed, holding my hand. I was 41. Claire was 15, Daniel, 11. The house felt hollow after that, like the air had been sucked out. I didn't cry in front of them. I couldn't. They needed me to be strong, so I was. I kept working. 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I'd sew patches on their jeans at midnight, make pancakes on Sundays, drive them to every practice, every recital. I was there, always. Even when I was so tired, I could barely stand. Claire used to cling to me, back then. She'd crawl into my bed after nightmares. Whisper, "You're my best friend, Mom." Daniel was quieter, but he'd leave little notes on the fridge. "Thanks for the lunch. Mom, you're the best." Those words, they kept me going through the long nights, the missed meals, the times I hid in the bathroom to cry. I thought, if I could just give them enough, they'd be okay. They'd see how much I loved them, and maybe they'd love me back. But love, it changes. Or maybe people do. When Claire went to college, I took out a loan, a big one, to cover her tuition. She wanted to study marketing, be someone big. I didn't hesitate. I signed the papers, paid the interest, even when it meant skipping my own doctor visits. Daniel was different. He didn't want college. He wanted to fix cars. I bought him his first toolbox, saved for months to do it. He hugged me so tight. I thought my ribs would crack. "I'll take care of you one day, Mom," he said. I believed him. Years passed. Claire got married. Mark was charming at first, ambitious, but his eyes, they always judged. He'd call me Diane, never Mom, like I was just some woman. Daniel moved out west for a while, chasing jobs. He'd call sometimes, but the calls got shorter, farther apart. I kept busy. I paid off the house. The one Frank and I bought when we were young. Every mortgage payment, it felt like a promise. Kept. To him. To them. I thought, this house would always be ours. A place for Claire's kids to run, for Daniel to come home to, for Ethan to grow up in. But something shifted, slowly, quietly. Claire stopped inviting me over. She'd say, "We're busy, Mom," or "Mark's stressed." Daniel's calls turned to texts, one-word replies. "Fine, busy." I'd send them birthday cards, bake their favorite pies, drive an hour to drop off casseroles when Claire had Ethan. But the thank yous, they stopped. The visits, they dwindled. I'd hear about their lives secondhand, from neighbors, from Facebook, Claire's promotions, Daniel's new girlfriend, Ethan's first day of school. I wasn't part of it. Not anymore. And yet, I kept trying. I'd show up, with cookies, with love, because that's what mothers do. Right. Even when Claire snapped at me for hovering, even when Mark rolled his eyes at my stories, even when Daniel forgot my birthday. 3 years in a row. I told myself, They're just busy. They're building their lives. They'll come back. They'll see me. Not just as the woman who paid the bills, who bandaged their knees, who gave up her dreams so they could have theirs, but as their mother, their family. I was wrong. The truth. It was there all along, in the way Claire's voice sharpened when I called, in the way Mark whispered to his friends when I walked in the way Daniel stopped looking me in the eye. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as an obligation, a burden, someone to blame. For what? I didn't know. Not yet. But standing in that birthday party, tray in my hands, their words cutting through me, I started to understand. I'd given them everything. My time, my heart, my home. And still, it wasn't enough. I drove home that night, alone. The cookies sat untouched on the passenger seat. I parked in my driveway, stared at the house. The one I'd fought to keep. The one I thought held our memories. And for the first time, I wondered. What if I stopped trying? What if I let go, not just of them, but of the pain they brought? I didn't know then what was coming. But something was stirring, deep inside. A quiet strength, a decision, and someone who'd seen it all, was about to remind me who I really was. I didn't sleep that night, after Ethan's birthday. The cookies sat on my kitchen counter, untouched. Claire's words echoed in my head. She's ruined everything. Mark's smirk, the laughter, Maria's steady gaze. I sat in my armchair, the one Frank used to read in, staring at the walls of our house. The house I'd fought for, paid for, loved in. I thought, maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe I'd read too much into it. Maybe, if I tried harder, they'd see me again. I was wrong. The weeks that followed, they broke something in me. I kept going back. To Claire's house, to Daniel's apartment when he was in town. I'd bring casseroles, knit scarves for Ethan, call to check in. But every time, I felt smaller, invisible. Claire would barely look at me. She'd sigh when I walked in, like my presence was a chore. "Mom, we're fine," she'd say. Sharp, dismissive. Mark was worse. He'd talk over me, interrupt. Once, he took a casserole from my hands, set it on the counter, and said, "We don't need this. We order takeout now." I'd smile, nod, swallow the sting, but inside, my heart cracked. Daniel was no better. He'd moved back to town. Got a job at an auto shop. I thought, maybe now we'd be close again. I'd stop by with coffee, offer to cook dinner. But he'd shrug. Say, "I'm good. Mom," his eyes. They never met mine, like I was a stranger, like I hadn't spent years driving him to practice, paying for his tools, believing in him. And Ethan, my sweet Ethan. He was the only light left. He'd hug me when I came over, show me his drawings, tell me about school, but even that, they took away. Claire started making excuses. He's got soccer, he's at a sleepover, we're busy this weekend. I'd ask to take him to the park, to the library. She'd say, "We've got it covered, Mom." Her voice, it was cold, final, like I wasn't his grandmother, like I was nothing. Then came the family meeting. Claire called it, at her house, a Sunday afternoon. I thought maybe this was it. A chance to fix things, to talk. I baked a pie, apple, Frank's recipe. I wore my best sweater, the blue one Claire used to love. I walked into her living room, hopeful, foolish. The air was thick, tense. Claire sat at the head of the dining table. Mark beside her. Daniel on the couch. My sister, Ellen, was there too, and a few cousins. Nobody smiled, nobody greeted me. I set the pie down, tried to speak. I brought Claire cut me off. "Sit down, Mom." Her voice, it wasn't a request. I sat, at the edge of the table, my hands folded in my lap, like a guest, like I didn't belong. Claire cleared her throat, looked at Mark. He nodded. She spoke. We've been talking, she said, about the house, my house, our house, the one I'd paid off, the one Frank and I built. My stomach dropped. We think it's time to sell it, she said, calm, like she was discussing the weather. It's too big for you, too much upkeep, you're getting older. You don't need all that space, I blinked, my mouth dry. Sell it, I whispered, my voice. It barely worked. Mark leaned forward. It's practical, Diane, he said. We could use the money for Ethan's college fund, for renovations here. I looked at Daniel, waiting, hoping. He stared at the floor, silent. Ellen chimed in. It's for the best. Diane, you could move somewhere smaller, easier. I felt the room spin, my house, my home, the place where Claire took her first steps, where Daniel carved his initials in the porch, where Frank's laughter still echoed in the halls. They wanted to take it, without asking, without caring. I tried to speak, but it's my home, I said. My voice cracked. Claire rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. Mom, she snapped. You're always making things harder than they need to be. Mark laughed. A short, cruel sound. She's right, he said. You're not thinking about Ethan. About us. The words hit me like a slap. I wasn't thinking about them after everything, the loans, the late nights, the dreams I buried. I looked around, searching for someone, anyone. Ellen avoided my eyes. My cousins nodded at Claire, like she was right, like I was selfish. Daniel? He said nothing. Just sat there, letting it happen. And then, the worst moment. Claire slid a pamphlet across the table. Glossy, bright. A retirement home. We've been looking at places, she said. Somewhere you'd be comfortable, taken care of. My breath stopped. A retirement home. They wanted to send me away, to erase me from their lives, from Ethan's, from the house I'd fought for. I stared at the pamphlet, my hands trembling, my vision blurred. I don't want to go, I said, quiet, desperate. Claire sighed, loud, exasperated. This isn't about what you want. Mom, she said, it's about what's best for everyone, but not me, never me. I looked at Ethan. He was in the corner, playing with his toys, his small face, confused, watching. I wanted to run to him, hold him, tell him I wasn't going anywhere, but my body, it wouldn't move. I stood, slowly. My chair scraped the floor. I need some air, I whispered. Nobody stopped me. Nobody cared. I walked to the kitchen, alone. My hands gripped the counter, the same counter where I'd taught Claire to bake, where I'd bandaged Daniel's scraped knees. I heard them talking, in the other room, about me, like I was a problem, a burden. She's always been like this, Claire said, holding us back. Mark agreed. We'll handle it, he said. She'll come around. I stood there, listening. My heart, it shattered, not quietly, not gently. It broke into pieces so small. I didn't know if I could find them again. I'd given them everything. My youth, my dreams, my home. And now, they wanted to take the last of me, to lock me away, to forget me. I looked out the window, at the street I'd walked 1,000 times, and for the first time I felt it, a quiet voice, deep inside. Enough, it said. Enough. I didn't know what I'd do, not yet. But standing there, alone in that kitchen, I knew I couldn't stay, not like this, not anymore, and somewhere, in the house. Maria was watching, silent, waiting, like she knew. This wasn't the end, like she saw something I couldn't. Not yet. I walked out of Claire's kitchen, my hands still trembling. The pamphlet for the retirement home. It sat on her table, glossy, mocking. Their voices drifted behind me, planning, deciding, as if I were already gone. She'll come around, Mark had said. I stood in the driveway, the evening air cool against my face, my heart. It was still in pieces, but that quiet voice inside, the one that whispered, "Enough." It grew louder, clearer. I looked back at the house, at the glow of the windows, at Ethan's silhouette in the corner, and I knew I couldn't let them erase me. Not like this. Not ever. I drove home, the streets silent, the cookies still on the passenger seat. I didn't cry, not yet. I couldn't. There was something I had to do, something I'd buried long ago, in the back of my mind, in the bottom of a drawer. I pulled into my driveway, walked inside. The house was dark, still, but it was mine. Every wall, every memory. I went to the bedroom, to the old cedar chest, the one Frank made before we married. My fingers traced the carvings, my hands shook as I opened it. There it was, a small metal box, locked, hidden, inside. A single envelope, Frank's handwriting, faded but unmistakable, for Diane, if they forget. I sat on the floor, the envelope in my hands, my breath shallow. I hadn't opened it since Frank died, 20 years ago. He'd given it to me, in the hospital, his voice weak, his eyes steady. "Keep this safe," he'd said. "You're stronger than they know. Don't let them take what's yours." I'd nodded, tucked it away. Thought it was just a letter, a memory. But now, I wasn't so sure. I opened it. Carefully, inside was a key, small, silver, and a note. The safe deposit box. First National Bank. "You'll know when it's time." My heart raced. I didn't know what was in that box. Not yet, but I felt it. A shift, like the ground moving under me. The next morning, I didn't call Claire. Didn't text Daniel. I drove to the bank, alone, the key in my pocket, my hands steady now. The teller led me to the vault, unlocked the box. Inside, a folder, thick, sealed, and a USB drive. My name was on it, in Frank's handwriting. I took it home, sat at my kitchen table, opened the folder first. It was a will. Not the one Claire and Mark knew about. Not the one Ellen had seen. This was older. Signed by Frank, notarized, legal. It left the house to me. Solely, completely. No conditions, no questions. And the savings, the ones I'd thought were gone, they were there too, in a trust, for me, for Ethan's future. I plugged in the USB drive, my old laptop hummed to life, a video loaded, Frank's face appeared, thin, tired, but his eyes, they burned with love, with purpose. "Diane," he said, his voice soft, familiar. "If you're watching this, it means they've forgotten who you are, what you've done. I'm sorry I'm not there, but I'm giving you this. The house, the money, it's yours, not theirs. They'll try to take it, to push you out. Don't let them. You're the heart of this family, always were." He paused, swallowed. "And if they fight you, show them this. Let them hear me." Tears fell, silent, warm. I didn't wipe them away. I let them come. Frank saw me, even now, even then. He knew, and he'd made sure I wouldn't be left with nothing. I closed the laptop, sat in the quiet, and then I made a call. Not to Claire, not to Daniel, to Maria, the housekeeper, the one who'd watched. Silent, steady. She answered on the first ring. "I knew you'd call," she said, her voice calm, knowing. I saw it all, from the beginning. Maria came over, that afternoon. She sat at my table, sipped coffee, and told me everything. She'd worked for Claire for years, seen the way they treated me, heard the conversations, the plans. "They've been talking about the house for months," she said. "Claire wants to sell it, split the money with Mark, Daniel. He just goes along. They think you'll give in, because you always have." I listened, my hands around my mug, the warmth grounding me. "But there's more," Maria said. She pulled out her phone, showed me a recording from the birthday party. Claire's voice, clear, cruel. "She's ruined everything," she'd said. "And Mark, always needing something." It was all there, every word, every laugh. I looked at Maria. Her eyes, they were kind, fierce. Why did you record it? I asked. She smiled, small, sad. Because I've seen it before, she said. My own family. They did the same. I didn't have proof. You do. I nodded, slowly, the pieces falling into place. I wasn't angry, not anymore. I was clear, for the first time in years. I knew what I had to do. I called my lawyer, Mr. Thompson, a man Frank trusted. I hadn't spoken to him in decades. He remembered me, his voice warm. Diane, he said, I've been waiting for this. I told him everything, the will, the video, the recording. He listened, quiet, then said, This changes everything. They can't touch the house, or you. We'll make sure of it. I hung up, my heart steady. My hands, they didn't shake anymore. The next day, I went back to Claire's house, not with cookies, not with apologies, with a folder, and Maria by my side. I knocked. Claire opened the door. Her face, it fell. Mom, she said, confused. Mark appeared behind her. Frowning, I didn't smile, didn't flinch. We need to talk, I said, my voice calm, strong. I stepped inside. Maria followed. Ethan was in the living room. His eyes brightened when he saw me. I gave him a nod. Small, reassuring. This wasn't for him. This was for them. We sat at the dining table, the same one where they'd planned to sell my home, to send me away. Claire crossed her arms. What's this about? She asked, sharp, impatient. Mark leaned back, smirking, like he already knew the outcome. I set the folder down, opened it, slid the will across the table. This, I said, is Frank's will, the real one. Their eyes widened. Claire's mouth opened. No sound came out. Mark's smirk vanished. I didn't stop. I pulled out my laptop, played the video. Frank's voice filled the room, steady, unyielding. The house is Diane's, not yours. The room froze. Claire's face paled. Mark shifted, uncomfortable. I looked at them, my voice even. You thought you could take it. You thought I'd let you. You were wrong. Maria set her phone down, played the recording, their own words, from the party, echoing back. Claire's eyes filled with tears, not sadness, panic. Mark stood. This is ridiculous, he said, but his voice, it shook. I didn't move, didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The truth. It was louder than anything they could say. I stood, looked at them one last time. I gave you everything, I said. Now, I'm taking it back. I walked out, Maria beside me. Ethan's eyes followed, not confused anymore, proud. And in that moment, I knew. I wasn't just saving my home, I was saving myself. I walked out of Claire's house, the folder tucked under my arm, Maria's footsteps steady beside me. The air felt different, lighter, like a weight I'd carried for years, had finally lifted. I didn't look back, not at Claire's pale face, not at Mark's trembling voice, not at the dining table where they'd tried to erase me. I'd said my piece, Frank's will, his video, Maria's recording. They spoke louder than I ever could. And for the first time, I wasn't the one begging to be heard. They were the ones scrambling for words. The days that followed, they changed everything. I didn't call Claire, didn't text Daniel, didn't wait for apologies. I was done waiting, done hoping, done giving pieces of myself to people who threw them away. My lawyer, Mr. Thompson, took over. He filed the paperwork, secured the house, the trust. Everything Frank had left me. It was airtight, legal, unbreakable. Claire and Mark, they had no claim, no power. The house was mine, the savings, mine. Ethan's college fund, protected, just as Frank wanted. Claire called. 2 days later, her voice, it wasn't sharp anymore. It was small, shaky. Mom, she said, can we talk? We didn't mean it like that. I listened. Silent. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I'm sorry, she said. We were just trying to plan for the future. I waited, let her words hang in the air. Then I spoke, calm, clear. I gave you everything. Claire, I said, now I'm giving you freedom, from me. I hung up. No anger, no tears, just peace. Mark tried next. A voicemail, long, rambling. Diane, this is a misunderstanding, he said. We can work this out, for Ethan's sake. I didn't call back, I didn't need to. Mr. Thompson sent them a letter, formal, polite. It outlined the will, the trust, the boundaries. They couldn't sell the house, couldn't touch the money, couldn't pretend I didn't exist, not anymore. I heard through a neighbor. Mark was furious. He'd planned to use the money for a new car, a bigger house, his dreams. They crumbled. And Claire, she stopped posting on social media. No more perfect family photos, no more curated smiles, just silence. Daniel was the hardest. He showed up at my door. A week later, his eyes red, his hands stuffed in his pockets. Mom, he said, quiet. I didn't know it would go this far. I looked at him. My boy, the one I'd driven to soccer, the one I'd bought tools for, the one who'd promised to take care of me. You stood there. Daniel, I said. My voice soft, steady. You let them plan to take my home, to send me away. You said nothing. He looked down, his shoulders slumped. I'm sorry, he whispered. I nodded. I know, I said, but sorry, it doesn't fix this. I closed the door, gently, but firmly. I didn't hate him. I didn't hate any of them. I just couldn't carry their guilt anymore. The family, they turned on them. Slowly, quietly. My sister, Ellen, called me. Her voice, it was different, softer. I should have said something. She said, at the party, at the meeting, I saw how they treated you. I'm sorry, Diane. I listened, didn't interrupt. She wasn't there for me then, but now she saw. My cousins stopped inviting Claire to gatherings. Neighbors whispered about Mark's greed. The story spread. Small town talk. It always does. Claire and Mark. They weren't the golden couple anymore. They were the ones who'd tried to push me out, to take what wasn't theirs. And Daniel. He lost respect at his job. People knew. People judged. Ethan, he was the one thing I held on to. Claire tried to keep him away. At first, she'd cancel visits, make excuses. But Ethan, he was stubborn, like his grandfather. He'd call me from his friend's phone. Grandma, he'd say, can I come over? I miss you. I'd smile, my heart full, always. Baby, I'd say. Mr. Thompson worked it out. Legal visitation. Claire couldn't stop it, not without a fight. And she didn't have the money, or the will, to fight. Ethan came over every weekend. We'd bake cookies, read books, plant flowers in the backyard. He'd tell me about school, about his dreams. And every time he hugged me, I knew I'd done the right thing, for him, for me. Maria, she stayed close. She quit working for Claire, took a job at the local library. We'd meet for coffee, talk about life, about family, about the things we'd survived. You're stronger than I thought, she told me once. Her eyes warm. I smiled. I didn't know I was, I said, until I had to be. She nodded, like she understood, like she'd been there too. Her recording, it didn't just save my house, it saved me. It gave me proof, not just for them, but for myself. I wasn't the burden they'd made me out to be. I was enough. The town noticed, people I hadn't spoken to in years. They reached out, old friends from church, neighbors I'd helped years ago. They'd heard the story, seen the truth. They'd stop by, bring pies, offer to mow my lawn. One woman, she hugged me in the grocery store. You didn't deserve that, she said, her eyes wet. I smiled, thanked her, and for the first time, I believed it. I didn't deserve it. I'd spent years thinking I was the problem, the one who needed to try harder, to give more, but I wasn't. They were. Claire and Mark. They moved. A month later. To a smaller house, across town. They couldn't afford the big one anymore. Not without the money they'd counted on. Daniel stayed in town, kept his job, but he kept his distance. I didn't reach out, didn't close the door entirely, but I didn't open it either. I'd given them enough, more than enough. Now, I was giving myself something new. Time, peace, a chance to live, not for them, but for me. I stood in my backyard. One evening, Ethan beside me, we'd just planted tulip bulbs, his hands covered in dirt, his smile wide. The house stood behind us, strong, mine. I looked at the porch, where Daniel's initials were carved, where Claire's laughter once rang. The memories, they didn't hurt anymore. They were just part of me. I'd fought for this, for my home, for my heart, and I'd won. Not with anger, not with cruelty, with truth, with strength, with love, the kind that doesn't ask for permission, the kind that just is. It's been 6 months, since that day at Claire's house, since Frank's voice filled the room, since I walked away. Not broken, not defeated, but whole. I'm still in my house, the one I fought for, the one Frank and I built. The porch still creaks, the kitchen still smells of coffee. And every morning, I wake up knowing it's mine. Not just the walls, not just the roof, but the life inside it, the life I'm building, for me. I don't live for them anymore. Claire, Mark, Daniel, they're out there, living their lives. I don't wish them harm. I don't carry their anger. I let it go, like a stone I'd held too long. My days are quieter now, simpler. I joined a gardening club at the community center every Tuesday. I kneel in the dirt, planting daisies, pulling weeds. My hands, they're steady now. No trembling, no fear. The other women, they share stories. Laugh, pass me bulbs to plant. They don't know my past. They don't need to. They see me. As Diane, not a burden, not a ghost. Ethan, he's my light. He comes over every weekend. We bake cookies, chocolate chip, his favorite. We read adventure books, build forts in the living room. He tells me about his dreams, to be an astronaut, to see the stars. I listen, really listen. And when he hugs me, tight and warm, I feel it. Love, the kind that doesn't demand, the kind that just is. I'm not just his grandmother. I'm his safe place. And that, it's enough. Maria's still here too. My friend, my ally. We meet for coffee. At the little diner on Main Street, she's teaching me Spanish, laughing when I mispronounce words. Her eyes, they're warm, knowing, like she sees the woman I'm becoming. Not the one who stood shaking at a birthday party, not the one who begged to be seen, but the one who knows she's enough. We talk about life, about second chances, about the strength it takes to walk away. I volunteer now. At the library, reading to kids. Their eyes light up. When I open a book, when I do the voices. They don't care about my past, about the years I gave away. They just listen. And in their laughter, I find something new. Joy, not the kind you chase, not the kind you earn, the kind you choose every day. You listening right now. You know this feeling. Don't you? The weight of giving everything to people who didn't see you. The ache of being blamed for things you couldn't control. Maybe it was your kids, your siblings, your parents. Maybe you stood in a room, feeling invisible, wondering if you'd ever be enough. I'm here to tell you, you are. You always were. Your worth. It's not in what you give. It's in who you are. And nobody can take that away. I didn't win because I fought. I won because I stopped fighting. For people who didn't deserve me. I chose myself, my home, my heart. And you can choose you. It's not selfish. It's not weak. It's brave. To walk away, to build something new, to say, I'm enough and mean it. If this story touched you, if it made you feel seen, leave a comment. Tell me your story. Tell me about the moment you felt blamed or the moment you stood up for yourself, for someone else. I read every word, and if you know someone who needs to hear this, share this video. Let them know they're not alone. Their voice matters. Their heart matters. And if you want more stories that remind you what it means to be strong, to be human, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell. Join us. Because there's more to tell, more to share. I'm Diane. I'm 62. I'm a grandmother, a gardener, a storyteller, and for the first time, I'm free, not because they let me go, but because I let them go. And that's the kind of freedom worth fighting for.